In the grim darkness of the far future, the Tyranids consume worlds. But they don't always strike with claws first. Sometimes, the Hive Mind begins with a whisper, a sermon in a shadowed cathedral, a priest who preaches loyalty not to the Emperor, but to something far older and far hungrier. This is the Benefictus, the twisted preacher of the Genestealer cults.
Welcome back to Brush and Blood, where Warhammer meets the real world. As I paint Warhammer miniatures, we'll uncover the echoes it shares with history, famous leaders, conspiracies, and even stories from movies and anime. Today, I'm painting a Genestealer Cults Benefictus, a false priest who spreads the Hive Mind's gospel through faith and lies. And while I layer his robes and symbols, we'll explore the lore of the cults, their parallels to real-world cults and infiltrators, and why faith can be just as dangerous as fangs. Who is the Benefictus? The Benefictus is the priest of the Genestealer cults, a figure who looks like a holy man but serves the Hive Mind. On the surface, they blend in perfectly. They wear robes like imperial clergy. They use words the people already know: faith, hope, deliverance. But every sermon, every whisper, points their flock away from the Emperor and toward the Hive Mind. That's how they infiltrate. Not by shouting heresy, but by twisting truth. They tell starving workers that the Emperor has abandoned them. They promise a better tomorrow, a world free of oppression, if only they followed the true faith hidden beneath their words. And by the time people realize the truth, it's too late. The cult is everywhere, in the mines and the guard posts, even in the pulpits of cathedrals. The Benefictus doesn't just lead a rebellion. He makes the rebellion look holy. Real-world parallel. In the 1972nd, Jim Jones built the People's Temple by preaching equality, community, and hope. Thousands followed him, believing he was a prophet of change. But in Jonestown, it ended in mass suicide, faith twisted into death. The Benefictus is Warhammer's version of that same nightmare. The trusted voice, the holy man, the leader people believe will save them, only to deliver them into the jaws of the Hive Mind. Fun facts and lore. Here are some fun facts about the Benefictus and why they're one of the creepiest faces of the Genestealer cults. Wolf in holy robes. Benefictus figures often dress almost exactly like imperial clergy. To the untrained eye, they look like priests of the ecclesiarchy until you hear the words they preach. Books of false faith. They carry holy texts rewritten in secret. Passages that once praised the Emperor are subtly changed to glorify the Hive Mind. Vocal command. Some Benefictus are said to possess a subtle psychic resonance. Their voices carry unnerving weight, making even doubters hesitate. The hidden hand. In some cults, the Benefictus wields more influence than the Magus, because faith moves people faster than psychic domination. Turned soldiers. Entire Imperial Guard regiments have defected under Benefictus influence. Imperial records show instances where squads refused orders not because of fear, but because their priest told them the Emperor's will had changed. False martyrs. Benefictus leaders sometimes sacrifice themselves in staged assassinations or martyrdom. The cult spins their death into holy legend, ensuring even more recruits. Cults of the tongue. One Ordo Hereticus file describes a cult where every sermon ended with the same chant: "The Great Devourer is love." The Great Devourer is truth. By the time the Inquisition arrived, the entire Hive City was chanting those words. Tabletop tie-in. On the tabletop, the Benefictus works just like in the lore. They don't kill you with claws, they buff the faithful. They inspire nearby units, letting ambushes hit harder and morale stay unbroken. In some lists, they're the reason a squad of cheap troops can suddenly punch way above their weight. The Sermon of Calloran Hive. On the world of Calloran Hive, a priest named Ephraim Drell preached hope to starving workers. He promised freedom from the tyranny of nobles and a new dawn for the oppressed. Thousands flocked to his sermons. But when the Tyranid fleet arrived, the truth was revealed. Ephraim was a Benefictus. His flock marched willingly into the streets, chanting praises to the Hive Mind, even as the sky turned black with bioships. When the Guard opened fire, they were cutting down civilians who welcomed their own extinction. The sermon became a massacre, and the Hive Mind fed on both flesh and faith. For the people of Calloran Hive, salvation was never real. It was just bait on the hook of the Great Devourer. Real-world parallels cult leaders and infiltrators. The Benefictus isn't just a fantasy. History is full of leaders who twisted faith into chains. Jim Jones' Jonestown, 1978. Jones began with words of equality, racial harmony, and community. Thousands followed him, believing he was a prophet of change. But in the jungles of Guyana, it ended in horror. Over 900 people died in a single day, drinking poison because their leader told them it was salvation. Shoko Asahara, Aum Shinrikyo, 1995. In Japan, Asahara promised enlightenment and freedom from suffering. But his cult carried out one of the worst terror attacks in modern history. On a March morning, they released sarin gas into the Tokyo subway, killing 13 and injuring thousands of commuters. Heaven's Gate, 1997. In the United States, Marshall Applewhite convinced dozens that salvation waited aboard a spaceship hidden behind the Hale-Bopp comet. Members gave up families, possessions, and finally, their lives. Dressed in matching uniforms, they committed mass suicide, believing they were ascending to a higher plane. Each of these stories shows the same pattern: a leader who offered hope, a community that believed, and an ending written in tragedy. Pop culture parallels. The Benefictus isn't just a Warhammer villain, they echo some of the most chilling characters in fiction. Attack on Titan. Inside the walls, leaders concealed the truth of the outside world for generations. Humanity lived under lies, thinking they were safe. The Benefictus plays the same game, hiding the Hive Mind's truth until the moment of extinction. Neon Genesis Evangelion. The Secret Council seal manipulated humanity, telling soldiers they fought for survival while hiding a darker plan. The Benefictus mirrors that manipulation, a holy man pushing pawns toward their doom. The Matrix. Most humans lived inside a false reality, docile and unaware that they were feeding machines. To the followers of the Benefictus, life feels hopeful and guided. In truth, they're programming themselves for annihilation. Attack on Titan, Evangelion, The Matrix all show us how lies and manipulation can feel like hope until it's too late. The Benefictus is Warhammer's reflection of that nightmare, a priest who takes faith, twists it, and feeds it straight to the Hive Mind. Psychology of faith and control. Why do people follow leaders like the Benefictus? Why would entire hive cities march willingly into the jaws of the Tyranids? Fear and hope. In chaos, people crave meaning. The Benefictus offers both fear of abandonment, hope of salvation, charisma, and authority. Milgram's obedience experiments showed people obey authority even when it harms others. The Benefictus has that same power. Shared identity. Cults thrive by making followers feel chosen, part of a family. The foot in the door effect. Small rituals grow into total devotion, one step at a time. Real-world case studies. In the 1992nd, Heaven's Gate started with small sacrifices, celibacy, diets, belongings. In the end, it became mass suicide. In 1978, Jonestown didn't die in a day. Jim Jones built loyalty for years. until 900 people willingly drank poison. That's exactly how the Benefictus works. The sermons start small, but every step leads closer to the Hive Mind, until at last, the people march willingly into extinction, singing praises as the sky fills with Tyranid bioships. Here's our finished Genestealer Cults Benefictus, a priest of corruption, a whisperer of doom, and proof that sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't a monster with claws, but the leader you choose to follow. In the next episode of Brush and Blood, we'll take to the skies with one of the Tyranid's most feared commanders, the Winged Hive Tyrant, a living engine of war. Disclaimer: this episode is for entertainment purposes only. Some details in the lore or history may not be exact. This is about fun storytelling and painting minis, not perfect accuracy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss it. And tell me in the comments, how would you play Genestealers? Would you lean into Tyrants in the Hive Fleet? Or ally them with Astra Militarum Corruption for that twisted infiltrator feel?
Yes! Not too bad.